What's happening, fam? John here from AF Anime, back again with another One Piece chapter review, this time to talk about chapter 1049, which is titled The World That Should Be. And although we do have a lot to talk about in regards to the many things that this chapter covers, first we'll talk about the cover page itself. And as you can see here, the book is on fire, which has set both Niji and Yonji free. And there are two conclusions rationally that we can come to. Either the other two Germa siblings, Reiju and Ichiji, have set that lab on fire, or alternatively, they could have defeated or possibly even set Mont d'Or on fire somewhere else on the island. And honestly, whichever of those two seem to be true, I am more than okay with. A lot of you guys might remember that Charlotte Paris Sparrow has been complaining a lot about Luffy and the Mink invading their island, and he might be right there. But when it comes to the Germa, they were double crossed by Big Mom's family in a pretty heinous way. If you don't remember correctly, they were in an arranged marriage and were supposed to combine power, but instead Big Mom was just about to assassinate all of them. So to that end, the Big Mom family is very guilty and very deserving of whatever comeuppance they're about to get from the Vinsmoke family. Either way, that is going to do it for my analysis on the cover page. So whatever comes next, I'm excited for it since the story seems to be picking up in pace. Now onward to the contents of chapter 1049, and it starts off in a similar fashion to the last 3 or 4, where we get this zoomed out panel of Onigashima implying that we're going back to Luffy and Kaido's fight, and for the most part we do get the entire first page dedicated to the Luffy and Kaido face off, and a lot of the artwork that we see on this first page is just amazing. But after that we do go into a flashback, and honestly I'm not sure how I feel about this flashback and what it implies. I will go ahead and sum it up for you very quickly. It starts off with Kaido at 10 years old, showing us the devastating aftermath of one of his attacks, where some of the soldiers deem him the perfect soldier. And then the very next panel we jump ahead 3 years, where he is being explained to by his superiors, I'm assuming, what the celestial dragons are and how they operate, which Kaido questions the status quo, wondering why anyone would ever obey these celestial dragons. Then the next panel we seemingly jump ahead another 2 years, where he's about the age of 15 and is now being traded by his own kingdom for the sake of getting access to Reverie. Naturally, since Kaido wanted nothing to do with this trade, he breaks free on the marine ship and escapes, to which they say that he escaped and got captured multiple times just so he can go eat for free. And in the next panel we get a timestamp that shows us it's 44 years from the present, and Kaido is on Full-Aled Island handling some folks. After which a young Whitebeard shows up to invite him to join the Rocks Pirates. The very next panel he joins the Rocks Pirates, and the panel following that he is on his way to the God Valley incident. Then the panel after that, the God Valley incident is over and the Rocks Pirates are disbanded. And then in the next panel it's 10 years later and he's being propositioned by Kurozumi Higurashi, who, if you don't remember, is the old lady that Kaido killed after she interfered with his match against Odin. Then apparently after that, on the next page, we see Kaido standing over all of his men, or his many followers, and he's telling them that he plans on making the kings of the world, or the rulers of the world, get off of their ivory throne so that way they can be on the battlefield and truly have their worth decided through battle. And then the flashback is concluded with a conversation between King and Kaido, where they're talking about Joy Boy, or more specifically, Kaido tells King that Joy Boy will be the person who defeats him. Now, usually I don't give a panel by panel breakdown of any moment of any chapter, but the reason why I did that is to show you that really it's about 5.5 pages that we get to encompass all of Kaido's background. And don't get me wrong, I don't see this as a bad flashback, nor do I see it as a good one though, and my main reasoning for that is that it's just incredibly short. And I don't think anyone would have complained if we had gotten a chapter or two of Kaido's background and just had it stretched out a bit. I think my main issue here is that, even though it does answer just about every question we have for Kaido's presence in Wano and his motives and how he got to where he is, I just feel like it could have been a little more fluid in terms of its storytelling capabilities. I mean, they seriously condensed about 15 years worth of events into 2 pages, and it just doesn't really rub me the right way. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't feel like they really needed to fill in the gaps about the whole Rocks or God Valley incident, because I feel like Oda has that in his back pocket for something more important later. It's just everything felt so rushed when it comes to this flashback. And although everything was pretty much neatly wrapped up in terms of, us understanding how Kaido got here, I still feel like there, was kind of a hinted at lore about why Kaido specifically chose Wano and not just some old lady showing up and saying, hey, come take over my country. We'll say, however, though, the only thing I absolutely loved about this flashback is how it ended at the very end of the chapter with Kaido saying that the man who shows up to defeat him will be Joy Boy, and then immediately after that we see Luffy sending him all the way to the ground with his punch. And also, as he's seemingly being defeated, we see two lanterns, one saying to take down the scary dragon and the other one saying to restore the Kozuki clan, going up into the air as the chapter ends. And that is a little bit poetic. I did say, I don't know, maybe 5-6 chapter reviews ago when I first saw these lanterns being created, that they almost certainly were going to take part in the end of the fight or the end of the conflict. And that is really poetic and looks really good, and I imagine once the anime finally gets to animating this, within the 2 episodes of Orochi being cut down and Kaido being knocked down, these lanterns and their wishes will probably set a pretty awesome tone for how this story might end in the anime. And the next topic worth talking about is going to be Momonosuke and him finally getting his act together. As we can see from one of the final panels in the chapter, that Onigashima seems to be safely landed on the ground, and Momonosuke's duty and the threat of Onigashima crashing into the capital is now a done deal. And with Onigashima being properly saved, Momonosuke no longer has a need to be in his dragon form, so hopefully within the next couple chapters we'll get to see him in his human aged form, or at the very least that's just what I want to see. But we do actually bounce around a lot in this chapter to a bunch of different characters, and some of them might seem a bit meaningless to the plot or the situation at hand, but when you see the image right here of Jinbei and Raizo sending the water all throughout Onigashima, I think that is just another way for Oda to tell us that this is in fact the end of the conflict. I mean, we have the fire that was going on being put out, we have Orochi being shown next to Hiyori and Denjiro, and apparently he really seems to be dead. I'm not sure if he would still need to be in his dragon form if he was deceased, but I guess we'll just have to see there. And then we have Kaido, who was knocked all the way into the ground and is seemingly unconscious. So with all of that, Orochi is down, Kaido is down, Big Mom is down, the fire is out, so it looks like all is well, or at least all is set to be wrapped up. The one thing I will say though is that we didn't get any official declaration of Luffy winning like we did with all of the other 1v1 fights, but it might just be possible that since Kaido is the big bad, that declaring Luffy the winner is either obvious or not necessary. However, in light of all of the crazy things that are going on in this chapter, 2 panels are dedicated to the remaining CP0 member who uses Geppo or Skywalk to hit the bricks. He apparently doesn't want to be around for the conclusion of this event. I'm not sure if he directly saw Kaido and Luffy's conclusion, but he's definitely banging out and apparently may even be leaving Wano. So these couple panels with the CP0 member might seem a bit innocuous, but you gotta remember, whenever Luffy defeats a big bad, the going trend within the world of One Piece at least is that somehow that news reaches everyone before Luffy and his crew get back on their ship to leave the island. And if that is the case, we could see Luffy's bounty updated before they get done celebrating in Wano, or possibly we might even go into another direct conflict with the world government or the Marines right after they learn that Kaido has been defeated. And speaking of Kaido's defeat or potential defeat, we see some unique spiral symbols, and I'm not sure if that's going to play into the story as, something relevant to the sun god Nika, but I found it odd that Oda chose to have, Kaido spiraling down when he was knocked straight down. And on top of that, as he's being spiraled downwards, he looks up and then you can see a white outline of a spiral above. Honestly, I have no idea what that means or what that could mean, so if you guys have any thoughts or ideas on that, let me know in the comment section down below. And I guess there are a couple more things that I want to talk about, first being the importance of the water of Zou. For one, if it is clean water, that could serve to offer clean drinking water to everyone who is present at the end of this conflict, but at the same time I think it's just present to really show us that Raizo and Jinbei are kind of spearheading the immediate danger when it comes to the fire. But at the same time, it also appears that the water in this chapter is moving certain people to certain places. So I'm not sure if that's going to lead to everyone just being in the bottom of Onigashima once the water finally reaches the bottom, or if it's possible that this water might serve as a plot device to put certain characters near or with each other, so that way certain things can pop off after, Wano is over. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to this chapter is going to be the man himself, Luffy, who apparently apparently or seemingly just won this 1v1 fight. And the line he had when Kaido asked him what kind of world he would create, and when he responds that he wants to create a world where his friends can eat as much as they want, it kind of serves as a dualistic meaning. For one, it's kind of an allegory for him and his friends, or everyone who's good per se, being able to do what they want so long as it doesn't harm other people. And then we have the direct correlation to Kaido and his oppression of the people of Wano, where many of the people could not eat as much as they want, and the stuff they could eat was in fact poisoning them. So with that being said, I think that Oda could have obviously gone the easy route and just had Luffy state that he wants to create a world of freedom, which would have fit for him and would have fit for the whole Joy Boy thing. But I think having this line instead makes it a little more personal from Luffy's quote to Kaido, and explaining to him the way the world needs to be, or the way he sees that it should be. It's kind of an indirect statement rather than being just so blunt and straightforward. Now that's all I got to talk about in terms of the events of this chapter. Some generic thoughts about going forward. I don't think that Kaido is dead or that Big Mom is also dead. I think that they will get back up and possibly even have some meaningful dialogue with Luffy and the Straw Hats before they leave Wano. And as I said before in a previous review, I do think it's possible that if Kaido believes Luffy to be Joy Boy, as well as King and possibly even Big Mom, if she even knows who Joy Boy is, then that might just lead to them stepping out of the way so that Luffy can climb his way to the top and eventually free the world from the oppression of the world nobles. So if I had to give this chapter a rating, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I kind of wanted to give it a little bit of a lower score for my personal beefs with the shortness and the scrunched nature of this flashback, but honestly, if this is the way that the conflict ends, if Kaido is defeated here, then it is kind of good storytelling, just even if it is rushed. So 9 out of 10 is fair. I don't want to give it a perfect. Maybe in the anime this might translate to being even better. I don't really know, but I guess we'll see in the future. Ultimately, the artwork and the hype and the story was very good for this chapter, just not quite there for me in terms of it being perfect. So my own personal grievances aside, let me know down below what you guys thought about the chapter. If there's any details or important details that I might have missed, be sure to share them with me. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Once again, thank you guys very much for tuning in and making it all the way through the video. My name is John from AFA. I'll catch you guys in the next one.